Hey, how's it going? Dave here, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about some cool chord voicings you can do in drop tunings. A few of you have asked for this, so I am delivering. So let's get straight into it. I am playing in drop D at the moment. If you don't know what drop D is, that means I'm dropping my E string down to D, and that means we can play power chords by playing everything on the same fret on the first three strings. Like that, but I assume that you already know that if you're looking for some more interesting chord voicings for drop tunings, so I won't spend any more time on that. So the first thing we can do, these are going to get more advanced as we go along, so if you already know these things, don't worry, there'll be more stuff towards the end. We're going to start off with a simple D chord, and this D major chord can be extended now by playing the open A string and the open low D string now. And we get a really nice, fat, juicy sounding D major chord. Now, that is because this low D string is of course the root, and then the A string is the fifth of our D chord. Which also means we can do it for a D minor chord as well. Now, we can also shift that up the fretboard. So if we were to do it on the 5th fret, for example, we'd bar the 5th fret, and then we'd play our middle finger on the 7th fret of the G string, ring finger on the 7th fret of the high E string, and then our little finger on the 8th fret of the B string, and we get this nice G major chord. And again, we can just shift it anywhere we want. And that's a cool, really spread out major voicing. Then for a minor one, all we have to do is play 7 with our ring finger on the G string, 8 on the B string with our little finger, and 6 on the high E string with our middle finger, and obviously bar the 5th fret on the first three strings. And we get a minor voicing like that. So that's a really cool way of playing your major and minor chords. Now, of course, we know how to play a power chord in drop D. All we have to do is play the first three strings at the same fret. Now, if we want to bring a major or minor kind of sound into it, we can add the 3rd on the D string. So how do we do that? Let's stick to the 5th fret. This is a G power chord, a G5. All we have to do is go up by 3 frets to get a minor chord. So we're going to play the 8th fret of the D string with our little finger, and we get a G minor. And then with our little finger, we're going to stretch it up to the 9th fret. So that's 4 frets higher, and we get a G major chord. Okay, and again, you can move those shapes around. So for example, if I was to create a quick chord progression, B minor, D major, G major, A major, we could do it like this. 9, 9, 12, open, open 4, 5, 5, 9, and then 7, 7, 9. 7, 7, 11, I mean. So I'm going to use this chord progression throughout the rest of the video now. Now what we can do is, after we've got these major and minor shapes down, we still have 2 fingers free, our middle finger and our ring finger. Let's not waste them. Let's put them to use by adding them to the upper strings. So let's take this G minor chord again, 5, 5, 8. And what we can do is, I'm just going to show you a couple of my favorite voicings. Play the 7th fret of the G string with your ring finger, and the 5th fret of the B string with your middle finger. And we're going to play every single string. Make sure we're barring that 5th fret so that we get the 5th fret of the high E string ringing out. So we're going to go 5, 5, 8, 7, 6, 5. And that is a minor 9 kind of sound. So we've got the root, the 5th, the flat 3rd, the 5th again, the 7th, and flat 7th, and the 9th. Now if we take our ring finger off the 7th fret of the G string and play the 5th fret instead with our index finger that we're barring, then we get a minor 11 sound, and that's quite cool as well. Now both those minor 9 and minor 11 chords can be played on chords 2 or 6 in your key. So in the key of G major, for example, it would be A minor and E minor, the minor 9 and minor 11 chords would work on. Now for the major shape, 5, 5, 9, it's a bit of a stretch, so it's going to be harder to get other shapes, but what I really like is this major 7 shape. So middle finger on the 7th fret of the G string and ring finger on the 7th fret of the B string. And that's a cool major 7 sound. Really nice. So those are a few of my favorite voicings for major and minor chords in drop tunings. Now, this final part of the video is where the really juicy stuff happens. So what we have to do is find all the semitones in our key. This might sound strange at first, but you'll see where I'm going. We're going to write a chord progression in the key of B minor. I already did that earlier. B minor, D major, G major, and A major. All right, we're going to find all the semitone intervals within the key of B minor. So we've got the notes B, C sharp, D, C sharp to D is a semitone. Then we've got E, F sharp, G. F sharp to G is a semitone as well. And then after G, we've got A and then B. So our 2 semitone intervals are C sharp to D and also F sharp to G. Now we have to find some places where we can play them both at the same time. It's a very dissonant sounding interval, this minor second, this semitone, on its own, but within the context of a chord, a big, nice, juicy chord, it really does sound awesome, and you'll hear the results in a minute. So, C sharp and D, where can we play these? The 4th fret of the A string and the open D string is a good option to start off with. Then we've also got the 6th fret of the G string and the 3rd fret of the B string. You can play those together. Then we also have the 11th fret of the D string and the 7th fret of the G string. And we also have the 14th fret of the B string and the 10th fret of the high E string. And again, I know they sound horrible at the moment, but they won't in a minute. And then we've got F sharp to G. So let's find all the places we can play F sharp to G. So we've got 4th fret of the D string and the open G string. And then F sharp to G on the 9th fret of the A string and the 5th fret of the D string. Where else have we got it? We've got it on the 7th fret of the B string and the 3rd fret of the high E string. There. Disgusting sound, I know. And then we've got 11 on the G string and the 8th fret of the B string. Cool, and I don't think there's any more instances where that happens unless we go higher up on the neck, which we won't need to for now. Okay, so those are our semitone intervals within our key, and that's how we play them at the same time. Now what we've got to do is play those semitones in our chords. So what we're going to do is we're going to just play the root and the 5th of all of our chords in our chord progression. So 9 and 9 on the D and A strings. That's for our B minor. Then open on that's for our D major. And for our G major, it's 5 and 5. And then 7, 7 for our A. So let's start with this B minor chord. All we've got to do is find one of those semitone intervals that are easy to play alongside these first 2 notes. We had this option, this C sharp to D on the 11th fret and 7th fret. So I'm using my little finger on the 11th fret of the D string and my index finger on the 7th fret of the G string. And then I'm playing the 9th fret of the low D and A strings with my middle finger. And it sounds really cool, doesn't it? You've got that semitone interval in there, which adds a bit of tension to the chord. Doesn't sound nearly as dissonant as it did when it's on its own. And I've got a ring finger available as well that I'm not using to play anything, so I may as well pull it on the 10th fret of the B string. And that sounds really nice. So there we go, there's one example. I could have maybe chosen the 11th fret of the G string and the 8th fret of the B string, and then I could have played the power chord with my middle finger. That also sounds cool. And then place my ring finger on the 10th fret of the high E string. With these spare fingers, I just like to just try and find what one works best by ear without working out the theory. It's the quickest way of doing it, I find. And we get that really cool sound there, like that. Then for our D major chord, so we're going to play the open, low D, and open A strings. Now the nearest set of semitones, I think, is the F sharp and G, so the 4th fret of the D string and the open G string. So if we play the power chord with those two notes, sounds quite nice. Then we've got these three spare fingers here, the index, middle, and little fingers. So we don't have to use all of them. I don't think there is a place where we can use all of them. I'm going to place my middle finger on the 3rd fret of the B string, and my index finger on the 2nd fret of the high E string. Sounds very, very nice, doesn't it? Another option we could have done was maybe play 6 on the G string and 3 on the B string, and then maybe place our ring finger on the 5th fret of the high E string. And we would have got that cool sound as well. But we'll stick with this one that we just came up with. So altogether our chord progression sounds like this. Then for our G major chord, which is going to be at the 5th fret, the nearest set of semitones I can think of would be the 7th fret of the B string and 3rd fret of the high E string. So if we play our power chord, add those notes in, we still have that G string that we need to cover. So I'm going to play the 7th fret of the G string with my bar it with my little finger. So we're going to bar the G and B strings with our little finger there. A little bit awkward, this shape, but it sounds cool. So that's a really nice sound. We could have also done the 4 of the D string and the open G string as well. That would have worked. We're going to use the difficult option. Then for our A major chord, the nearest set of semitones would be the 11th fret of the D string and the 7th fret of the G string, the C sharp and D. Now if we add the power chord in, that sounds nice. And then we just have to place our ring finger and middle finger somewhere. So I'm going to, yeah, that works. The 10th fret of the B string and the 9th fret of the high E string works as well. Oh God, this is a really awkward shape. Cool, so maybe I'll just stick with the 10th fret of the B string for now, just so I can actually play the chord progression. But that sounds cool with the 9th fret of the high E string. So altogether our chord progression sounds like this. Cool, so there you go, there you have it, some really interesting voicings there for drop tunings. Use those semitones to your advantage because they add just a really nice amount of tension to your chord progressions, and they add like real beauty to your chord progressions, I find. If you enjoyed this video and you learned a lot, make sure you like the video. That really helps the channel out. Make sure you let me know what you thought in the comments. Do you have any cool other chord voicings for drop tunings that I missed out that you think I should have used? Let me know in the comments too. Maybe I'll make another video. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Why aren't you subscribed? You're mad if you haven't subscribed to me because I am the best guitar teacher on YouTube. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell as well so that you're notified every single time I release a new video. And also check out the first 2 chapters of my book, which I'm offering to you for absolutely free. The first 2 chapters of my book, Chord Charisma, will show you how to write a really awesome chord progression, and it will show you, like I did in this video, some really cool voicings for 7th, 9th, 11th and 13th chords that will spice up those chord progressions. So definitely check that out, absolutely free in the description, and I will see you in the next video. Have a good one.